It's been an incredible year trying to celebrate all the Flash games made by developers over the years, and we're finally here. Saving my best for last, we're playing the games developed by jmtb02, otherwise known as John Cooney. He has over 100 games developed by him over the years, so to keep myself from going down the Neopets hole yet again, I've decided to do a tier list, and we're only going to do the games of his featuring animals. Be that the iconic blue elephant, or maybe a dog, armadillo, or whatever the heck this thing is. If it's featuring an animal as a big part of the game, then it's making it into this list. I'm Demoblah, and welcome to Flash Friday. The first game we have is Curl Up and Fly. There's a lot of games in the launcher lineup for Flash games, from Burrito Bison to Shopping Cart Hero. And Curl Up and Fly definitely has its own distinct mechanics with the armadillo rocket stuff. But unfortunately, I think the game gets a little too stale. Everything just seems to keep scaling and scaling and scaling, and there isn't an end goal. So, while I do love the style and I do love the look, I feel like the lack of building content puts it, unfortunately, in a B tier. The next game that we have, though, is Super Duck Punch, which brings together the question of would you rather this or that into a fighting game, where you can either fight duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck. And well, I had to make a decision, and you gotta, of course, Super Duck Punch. Considering the super unique premise we have here with the Super Duck Punch game, I feel like it's definitely worth a play. In terms of fighting mechanics, it's okay. It's super satisfying though, punching a ton of duck-sized horses to the ground and watching them just fly away. And also just getting hounded by all of the animals is just such a bizarre yet satisfying feeling that I feel like it should be something that people experience. So we're gonna drag that over to an A tier. The next one we got is Idleplex, which is an idle game with a bunch of mini games. I think 6 in total, which I found pretty interesting. Each of the games was definitely enough to keep you captured at least for a little bit. I think overall, it's not the most exciting game compared to other idle games. Once again, in general, idle games don't really have an end goal, so it doesn't seem to differ that much from those other idle games. But considering there's only 6 mini games, and once you have all of those, you've gotten all of the content, I guess, available, though you must upgrade past that, right? So we're gonna put this one a B tier, I think. Cooper's Little Adventure. Now this game is really interesting. He made it super small. What you're seeing is super zoomed in. It features a little doggo, and it's an upgrader style, upgrader coin collector style game. Well, I really thought I liked the premise initially. The upgrading and the game itself got pretty stale pretty fast. I ended up playing it through, seeing what Cooper's upgrades would be, because there's the coin collecting upgrades and the other upgrades, and it turns out the Cooper upgrades itself were just adding rockets to the pupper. And while I love how cute the doggo was and what the style was, the gameplay wasn't enough to make it worthwhile for just the cuteness of the dog. This one's a C class, I think. Loot's the Game. This is our first game featuring the blue elephants that is iconic from JMTB's creations. And Loot's the Game is one where you're shooting up trains. I think the gameplay was pretty straightforward. You shoot, you dodge turret things, and you're slowly going through 100 carts. But they also had an equipment system where you get weapons and equipment that fall from the trains, and then you drag it to your elephants. The equipment management was just really hard, really bizarre, really uncomfortable to manage. Your aiming is determined by mouse, but also your equipment is determined by mouse. Incredibly inaccessible, like incredibly inaccessible. And as of course turrets came around and things got harder, it just became more and more painful trying to figure out like how to manage my elephant while also dealing damage. I'm giving this one a C. Okay, the next one's featuring turtles, and it's called Epic Combo and Epic Combo Redux. So these series of games, pretty much it's a chain reaction based game where you're setting up a turtle extravaganza, we could say. The amount of content is okay. The amounts of upgrades and stuff that you can do is also relatively short. And the game scales exponentially. Like, the moments that you get a certain amount of upgrades, you're pretty much guaranteed an endless combo. So it is really fun and exciting to set up your room. From there, you get a ton of satisfaction out of it. In the Redux, you get party lights and stuff, and that's super fun. But it is just like a one and done. Once you've kind of gotten your fill, then you've really gotten your fill. So I'm going to put this one in as an A, I think. Treadmillosaurus Rex. So this game is kind of like a dodge game. I don't know how to describe it. You are a T-Rex on a treadmill, trying to not hit the ends of the treadmill, and also there's spiky balls rolling at your feet. And you just gotta dodge things. And there's a wheel in the background that spins, and it makes things harder, or adds party lights or confetti. This game is incredible. It is so bizarre, it is so unique, and it is still somehow really fun to play and really challenging, even though it is such a simple premise. I'm gonna put it an S because I think you should play it. Like, there's just no reason why you shouldn't play this one. Okay. Achievement Unlocked. We're going to talk about these ones separately because I feel like Achievement Unlocked 3 is distinct enough from Achievement Unlocked 2 and 1. But Achievement Unlocked 3, it goes off the basic premise of Achievement Unlocked where you have a just set of achievements and you're trying to accomplish them. It is also another game portraying the blue elephants, the classic blue elephants. But this one, there's a bunch of separate rooms. And there's a talking king hamster, which I think it's all a direction that the game series had to have gone, but I think the game overall is harder to play in one session. So it's made it a little bit less friendly towards the standard people who play Flash games, but it definitely is, it is still a great game. It has all of the mechanics of that they've been building up over the series, and it still keeps all of those while adding a bunch of new things that make it still fresh and exciting. And I think this game is still just as speedrunnable as the other ones, just way harder to speedrun. Like, there's definitely an 80% versus a 100%. I don't think it is personally better than the other Achievement Unlocked games, in my opinion, because the packages there are just a lot cleaner. So I'm going to give this one an A tier. But it's like a high A. Run Right. Now this game was a big surprise. You are a pink dinosaur who's running right. And just based off of looking at the face of the dinosaur, you'd be thinking one whole thing like, oh, cute little dinosaur running from meteors and stuff. But then you like zoom out a little and you're also shooting people and stepping on them and just like causing havoc as you run through these cities, and I enjoy it so much. I didn't play this game as a kid, and I had a blast. I was just gleefully shooting all these people, like flying around with my jetpack, dodging meteors. Oh, it was a great game. This one is definitely an S tier game. You've gotta play it. There's just something so stupidly satisfying about being a dinosaur shooting up humans. Flock Together. Now this game is significantly different in terms of art style. While the gameplay was interesting, you're flying around with birds and you're capturing birds and you're selling birds, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. Like, I was slowly making money, I was slowly getting more ropes from this random guy in a hot air balloon. But there's a little story in the beginning, and I couldn't generate a set of objectives in the actual gameplay from that story. So I was a little confused. I think it's just overall a C tier kind of game. Okay, here we are back in the weirder style of things. Soviet Rocket Giraffe Go Go Go. It's one heck of a name, and it is one heck of a game. This one is an endless runner game, but you are a giraffe's head. you have a rocket attached to your head and it's stretching out your neck, and you're supposed to jump and dodge and grind and get points, and wow, it is an experience. It feels, in terms of an endless runner game, to be very good, but it doesn't have too much depth to it. So you jump, you grind, and that's pretty much it. There aren't too many additional things. Overall, I think it's a really interesting play. I don't think it was like my favorite endless runner, so we're just gonna put it as an A tier. This is the only level. So this series of games is incredible. It's also featuring the blue elephant. It is a series of puzzle games where you have one level, and then the title just changes. And based off of that title, you have to determine how to play that level and how to get to the end pipe. I highly recommend playing it. Even after all these years playing that first game and just like trying to remember what all the levels was and how to beat all of them was such a riot. All of them have such creative puzzles and such unique puzzles. What an amazing series. What an amazing series. The controls are very unique. It starts out with the very like standard stuff, but it branches out in ways that you don't expect, and it is so satisfying when figure things out. Definitely an S tier game. Okay, I said we'd split out Achievement Unlocked 3 from the rest, but now we have Achievement Unlocked 1 and 2. In terms of packages, they are much more contained, and they feel great. Like the achievements are all interesting and exciting to like figure out. And once you figured it all out, you just like want to play it again to optimize and really figure out what the best way to play the game is and speedrun. I feel like this game is on the same level. These two games are on the same level as This Is the Only Level. These really hammer home like the cream of the crop Blue Elephant's Flash game experience. Achievement Unlocked, also S tier. Okay, Lights Cut. I said we'd touch that bizarre animal thing. Turns out that's a unicorn who got its horn broken. And my god, I did not expect this game. It is bizarre. There is even a kind of hidden third level that is also worth playing. The whole Dark Cut series I found interesting as a kid. Playing it now, it's not as exciting as it once was, but this Light Cut parody of Dark Cut is just, everyone should play it at some point in their time. Maybe play Dark Cut before they go into Light Cut. But yeah, S tier for novelty. Gosh darn, that was one heck of an experience.
Thank you.
Next we have Run Elephants Run. This game was very interesting. I really liked the story. I liked the feel of the vibes and the stuff that came from the game. The cutouts were so interesting. Unfortunately, the gameplay itself was a little rough. It was like super hard to handle. I love the romance. I love the story. I love the feel and the vibe of the game. It's so unique. But man, was it hard to dodge things. So I think it's an A tier. Yeah, it's an A tier. To continue on the unique route, we have Llama Adventure. This is a text-based adventure game, and wow, there are not enough text-based adventure games, and I'm glad this one exists. In terms of accessibility for text-based adventure games, this one is really good because it highlights keywords and phrases to better help you get an idea of what to type. When you're new to the text-based adventure, you just don't know what's available and what's on the board. And having the keywords and phrases available or like highlighted in the text makes it so much more friendly. The puzzles are straightforward and interesting. I think as an entry game into text-based adventures, this is one of the best games. I'm gonna make this an S tier. Rabbit Wants Cake. This was a very unique game. I haven't seen anything, I think, like this. You're pre-programming a rabbit to do the actions that you normally do during a platformer. You record your actions and then you play it and you hope it goes well. Super interesting. I think sometimes it got a little obnoxious trying to get like the specific timings in. Like I'd move the jump and then I'd move it a little bit and then the rabbit wouldn't be touching and the jump wouldn't queue up or something like that. So there are times when I wasn't super happy with it, but I think it's definitely worth a play. It's super unique, something I haven't seen before, and it plays interestingly. Definitely worth a gander. I'm gonna drag this into the A tier. Okay, the Hedgehog launch series we're also gonna package together. It is interesting compared to other launcher games. It is vertical versus horizontal. And in this case, rather than having random things that'll continue bouncing you on your journey, you're going straight up and you have platforms that appear and you can shoot your hedgehog left and right. It's a very simplified launcher game compared to many of the others, and I think it definitely has a charm related to its simplicity. I think it's very easy to play within one session. You don't even need all the upgrades to like actually beat both the games, but they're cute, they're adorable. I'm gonna put it in A tier because it is an incredibly accessible launcher game. Giraffe Attack. So this is like the predecessor to Soviet rocket Giraffe Go Go Go, but it's kind of if like you're like, Mom, I want bullet hell, and then Mom's like, we have bullet hell at home. This is what it would end up being, is Giraffe Attack. It wasn't great. There's a mechanic where your health just regenerates when you're not getting hit for like half a second, and you're reliant on that because there's just not enough space to dodge or anything like that. So it's definitely just like a B tier game. It is very bizarre having another giraffe with the neck stretched out game though. Okay, we're most of the way through. Next one, we got a bird one, Time Emu. This is a game where you're an emu and it has time hops and time paradoxes. So you make actions and then you can choose to let that version of yourself go and like start a new version. Your different versions will interact with each other. So you can sometimes have your old version jump and then he'll jump and land on one of your newer versions and then it screws up his actions. So you have to be really careful with your puzzle like solving so that you don't actually break your initial solves. I think that was pretty unique. Overall, the game could get a little stale in terms of progressions. It took a little bit to like get into the groove, and then by then you've been doing the same kind of puzzles for so long that they weren't feeling very fresh. I think it's pretty unique. The style is really good. I don't think it was quite an S tier, but it's definitely a solid A tier game. Elephant's Rave HD and Elephant's Rave. This series is another classic series of games. Elephant's Rave HD, of course, is the remake of the Elephant's Rave game, which is the originator of the Blue Elephant. If you're gonna play any of them, I just play the Elephant Rave HD version. The game's a classic. You just dodge. I'm not very good at it, but man, if you make it like further than expected, it is so satisfying. There is a reason why it's a classic. The music and the lasers, they accidentally like align. There's a story about it on his page for the original Elephant Rave. I think it's worth checking out. It's a huge important part of Flash history. And maybe because of that, it gets to bump itself up a tier, even though the gameplay isn't the most exciting. So yeah, this one is going to be an A tier game for me, at least. It's just a classic. It's just a classic. Okay, we've reached nearly the bottom of his arsenal of games that featured animals. We have Ocean Explorer. This one is one of the older games in his lineup. It's from 2007. And you're a fish photographer. You have to go down, get the pictures of the fish, and then get back up to the surface. I played a few levels of these, and all the levels were based off of one picture, right? So you go down, you take a lot of pictures, and you're trying to get one picture that qualified for the objective, which was a certain number of points. I think it was interesting. I would have liked more variance in terms of the objectives to keep things actually more interesting. And, I don't know, some way to be aware of how the fish could possibly go. Is it worth the risk of going down? I couldn't tell, because sometimes the nice fish would just be higher up in the surface anyway, so why would I even drop down? And other times it sit in the top of the surface and nothing would happen. I feel like this game has potential, but as it is, it's just not that interesting. I'm just going to put this in the C tier. Water Dash. Now this game is even older. It's from 2006. And you're a penguin catching droplets of water. It was for an important cause, but unfortunately, it just doesn't feel that great. All the controls are super floaty, even if you take your hands off, the penguin keeps going. And of course, with the game itself, you either catch the droplets, you miss the droplets, or you catch the bad droplets. Like, it's as simple as it comes. It pretty much feels like a Neopets game. It's just not great, so I'm dragging it to the D tier, unfortunately. This one is Mr. Walter's Grand Excursion. You are a bunny rabbit with a grappling hook, and it feels like it's trying to be Fancy Pants Adventure, but it just is. The controls are just a little too unwieldy to be that level. The grappling hook is an interesting mechanic. It doesn't always work as you'd expect, or it doesn't work as cleanly as you'd expect. I really wanted to play through it and really get the feel, but eventually I just got tired of the inconsistencies with the game. It could get there, but as it currently is, it's just not really there. You can see all the ideas, and the ideas are great. It's just the execution just doesn't have the cleanliness that it needs. So this one's a C tier. Last but not least, it's literally just the last one in his site that features animals. It's Elephant's Quest. Now this one is a pretty large game. It is once again featuring the blue elephant. It has a full-fledged map. It has a full-fledged skill tree. I enjoyed it a lot. The characters are interesting. The quests, they kind of flow naturally into your exploration. And the upgrade and skill tree system is exciting. It feels like a lot of the themes of the other games, of the other Blue Elephant games, but somehow it completely works in a completely different genre. And it's really something that's pretty unique, and I think it's totally worth a play. Also, pressing and holding the lasers for the weapons is a really nice thing. Once I figured that out, my whole world was changed. I'm dragging this one to the S tier. And with that, that is all the animal-based games. It's still 30 something games that I played for this video. Of course, on his site, he has way more than 30 games. I don't think all 100 games are on the site, but it's at least a good solid 40, 50. Some other games that you might be interested in checking out. Balloon in a Wasteland is a really unique take on defense games. It's a shooter defense, but you also are trying to do repairs, so it's like a time management thing. It's super unique. I've not played a game like that. Grid 16, it's like a WarioWare game. It's like all those exciting mini challenges, and they just keep coming. If it goes well, it feels really good. If it goes badly, it feels really sad. But definitely worth a play. One last game to recommend if none of these other ones got your attention. Give Up is another interesting game, and a similar one is Exit Path, and they feel Portal-esque. It's like a platformer, but with a Portal feel. I know that there is the Portal Flash version that is the literal Portal feel. They feel really good in terms of having a platformer with that clean scientific vibe, but you know that death is kind of coming. Give Up, of course, is trying to have you give up, and Exit Path actually has a story along with it. But yeah, they're both great games to check out. jmtb has made a ton of games, so many classics. He has definitely earned his place as being one of the most prolific developers in the Flash universe. Yeah, it's gonna be a darn shame having Flash not supported anymore. There's been a big push to get many of the games ported over into HTML5 in general, but there are some that are simply just gonna get lost into the void. Because of course, you can always bypass things, but one of the big parts about Flash was its general accessibility, and that's no longer going to be the case. There will always be browser-based games, I'm sure of that, but the amount of growth and the pure amount of content that Flash has encompassed over the years is really inspiring and really exciting, because Flash was universal. Anyone could touch it, anyone could play it, and I even missed a huge portion of games. There's so many games on my list that I unfortunately just wasn't able to touch over this year that I hope someone else manages to cover. I hope you've really enjoyed the journey over this year as I have emerged from the depths that I'll probably go right on back to. And of course, I've shared many of my favorite games and my favorite developers, but who are your top Flash developers and Flash games? Maybe some people can take a peek at those games too, and we can, well, share in the nostalgia and share in the feelings. So as always, links are down in the description below to check out any of jmtb02's games, and I hope life treats you swell. Toodles!